Hello and welcome everyone. I remain your boy Ibrahim Umar Wasi, aka The General. Today we are drawn not by curiosity, but by consequence. From the arid desert of Iran to the frozen trenches of Ukraine, the world teeters once again on the edge of uncertainty. In the Middle East, a question now burns hotter than the Gulf sun. If war erupts between Iran and the United States, can Tehran truly count on Moscow? Russia, the supposedly ally, the backroom strategist, the chess master of Eurasian politics, has stood beside Iran in many declarations. But when the missiles start flying, will the Kremlin stand firm or step aside? And then across European eastern flank, another flame flickers. Donald J. Trump, US president and once self-proclaimed peacemaker, is now threatening to abandon efforts to broker peace in Ukraine. To some, it's bluster, to others, betrayal. To the people of Ukraine still counting bodies and burying dreams, it feels like the warning shots clocked in indifference. At first glance, this may seem like separate storms, but listen carefully and you will hear a common tone. The unreliability of the power, the loneliness of war, the danger of misplaced trust. Whether in Tehran or Kyiv, nations are learning the hard way that alliances are not promises, they are positions, and positions can shift. So tonight I ask you, in a world ruled not by morality but by interest, who can you really count on when the siren begin to wells? Stay with me. The world is speaking. We must listen between the lines. Welcome. Today we turn our eyes once again to the frozen fields of Eastern Europe, where bombs still falls flat and hope hang by a thread. The war in Ukraine, now over 2 years old, has dragged the world through sleepless nights and shifting alliances.
This is not Trump's war. This is a war that should have never happened.
But now a new twist. Donald J. Trump, US President, Republican, businessman and master of disruption, has issued a warning wrapped in typical Trump's fashion. If he doesn't get his way, he will abandon efforts to broker peace between Russia and Ukraine.
If for some reason one of the two parties makes it very difficult, we're just going to say you're foolish, you're fools, you're horrible people, and we're going to just take a pass. But hopefully we won't have to do that.
Yes, abundant. Let's pause here. This is no small tantrum. It is a trait with global consequence. For many Ukrainians, this isn't just a shift in tune. It is a chilling signal. To them, such rhetoric marks of capitulation. The fear is real that if America walks away, the dam will break and defeat could soon follow. You see, Trump has long styled himself as the ultimate deal maker, boasting that unlike Biden, he could end the war in 24 hours. But now he's playing hardball not just with Kyiv and Moscow, but with the entire global diplomatic order. The question is, peace on whose term?
How close are we to the ceasefire is a big question to me personally, because as I said, we had an attempt on a limited ceasefire on energy infrastructure, which was not observed by the Ukrainian side. So in these circumstances, to speak about ceasefire is simply unrealistic at this stage.
Will peace under Trump mean justice for Ukraine or concession to Russia? Will he push for a genuine ceasefire or simply appease Putin for the sake of political optics? And my people, here is where it hits home. Because we in Africa know what it means to live under the shadow of foreign policies shaped by ego, not ethics. We know what it means when powerful nations treat other people's pains as bargaining chips on a global chessboard. So tonight, we must reflect. Is Trump's threat a strategy or a signal that principled diplomacy is dead? What kind of world are we entering? Where peace is no longer pursued for peace's sake, but wielded as a campaign slogan. Let's be clear. A true peacemaker does not threaten to walk away from the table. A true leader does not gamble with lives for leverage. And while Trump plays politics, Ukrainians continue to bleed. Children grow up in bunkers. Families are displaced. Futures shattered. So whether you admire him or detest him, the real questions remain. Should peace be used as a pawn in the game of power, or should it be a principle pursued with courage, patience, and integrity? As always, I leave you with reflection, not reaction. Because in a world this fragile, every threat matters and every silence echoes. Peace, my people, not just the kind politicians promise, but the kind we must demand. Next, my people, let us ask the question that lies beneath the silence. If war breaks out between Iran and the United States, can Iran truly count on Russia?
Ladies and gentlemen, today my colleague, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Basarachi, and I conducted thorough negotiations, which reaffirmed our shared goal of achieving further positive results in our bilateral relations and international cooperation. This includes the development of the agreements reached by our presidents, with consideration of my visit to Tehran in February. We truly share the view that Russian-Iranian relations have a truly special character. This character fully aligns with the spirit of our comprehensive strategic partnership and continues to develop dynamically despite the very complex situation in the region and the world, as well as attempts to exert pressure on our countries to restrain the development of both Iran and the Russian Federation. On April 8th, the State Duma ratified the agreement on comprehensive strategic partnership between the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran. This agreement was signed during the January visit of President Pezeshkian to the Russian Federation. On April 16th, the ratification law was approved by the Federation Council. We are confident that the entry into force of this historic document will have a very positive impact on our cooperation in all areas, both bilateral and on the international stage.
At first glance, the answer might seem like a firm yes. After all, Moscow and Tehran have grown cozier in recent years. They have stood side by side in Syria, facing the West with clenched fists and joint operations. They have signed military agreements. They even tread under sanctions, like two outlaws sharing the same trenches caught in a gunfire. But here is the truth. Alliances in geopolitics are really built on love. They are built on interest. And when bullets fly, not tweets, interest can shift faster than a breaking headline. Let me put it plainly. Russia will not fight America for Iran. At least, not directly. Yes, Putin may supply weapons. Yes, he may provide intelligence or steer unrest to distract the West. But when it comes to boots on the ground or full-on war with the United States, Russia is too strategic and too self-interested. Because while Iran burns for ideology, Russia plays chess. And in the chessboard, Iran is a piece, not a partner. Let us not forget, in 2015, when the Iran nuclear deal was being negotiated, Russia played both sides, talking peace in Vienna while selling missiles in Moscow. Even today, as Iran helped Russia in Ukraine with drones, Moscow has kept quiet on key issues affecting Tehran's regional goals. So the real answer is this: Russia will support Iran, but only to the point where it doesn't cost Russia too much. It will whisper encouragement, but stay out of the fire. Because for Moscow, the goal is simple: weaken America, destabilize the West, but not at the cost of triggering World War III. And so, my people, let us understand, in war, every nation is alone until it is useful. And when that usefulness faded, so too does loyalty. So can Iran count on Russia? Yes, but only until counting becomes too expensive. This is the tragedy of modern geopolitics. Not brotherhood, but bargaining. Not solidarity, but strategy. Tonight, let us reflect. In a world where alliances are transactional, who can any nation rely on when the siren starts to sound? So finally, my people, from the broadened corridors of Tehran to the battle-scared fields of Donbass, tonight headlines whispered the same unsettling truths. The world is shifting, not toward peace, not toward justice, but toward a cold, calculated reordering where loyalty is traded and alliances are rented, not rooted. Iran looks eastward and sees a partner in Russia, but history, my people, tells a different story. Russia protects its interests, not its friends. And should the cannon roar between Washington and Tehran, Iran may find itself not shielded, but stranded. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, the winds of America's commitment begin to waver. Trump, ever the dealmaker, ever the disruptor, now threatens to walk away from peace efforts altogether. Not for a nation already bleeding that trade feels like salt poured into an open wound. But here lies the deeper truths, one I urge every Nigerian, every African to understand. Great powers do not love, they leverage. They do not promise, they pasture. And in the great theater of global politics, smaller nations are often just props, moved, used and forgotten. So as we watch Iran hope and Ukraine fear, let us ask ourselves, if war came to our doorstep, who would stand by us? If our sovereignty were tested, would we find friends or silence? In a world where power speaks louder than principle, may we as a nation build strengths from within. For in the end, only the self-reliant are truly secured. Peace, my people. Let wisdom guide you. Once again, Ibrahim Umar Wasi, signing out.
Ladies and gentlemen, today my colleague, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Mr. Basarachi, and I conducted thorough negotiations, which reaffirmed our shared goal of achieving further positive results in our bilateral relations and international cooperation. This includes the development of the agreements reached by our presidents, with consideration of my visit to Tehran in February. We truly share the view that Russian-Iranian relations have a truly special character. This character fully aligns with the spirit of our comprehensive strategic partnership and continues to develop dynamically despite the very complex situation in the region and the world, as well as attempts to exert pressure on our countries to restrain the development of both Iran and the Russian Federation. On April 8th, the State Duma ratified the agreement on comprehensive strategic partnership between the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran. This agreement was signed during the January visit of President Pezeshkian to the Russian Federation. On April 16th, the ratification law was approved by the Federation Council. We are confident that the entry into force of this historic document will have a very positive impact on our cooperation in all areas, both bilateral and on the international stage. Our political dialogue is very rich. Recently, the presidents met 3 times. In October in Ashgabat at the International Forum on the Connection of Times and Civilizations, in October in Kazan at the BRICS Summit, and as I mentioned on January 17th, there was an official visit of the President of Iran to the Russian Federation. We continue the discussion from yesterday's meeting at the Kremlin, when President Putin met with Mr. Minister. We paid special attention to a number of specific issues on the international agenda, but focused more on bilateral matters, especially trade and economic relations. Our trade turnover is showing positive dynamics. Last year, it grew by more than 13% and almost repeated the record figures of 2022, around $5 billion. The trend for growth continues. Despite the already mentioned tough sanctions imposed by the West on both the Russian Federation and the Islamic Republic of Iran, which grossly violate the norms of the UN Charter, the World Trade Organization, and other international legal agreements. We analyze the preparation for the upcoming 18th meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission on Trade and Economic Cooperation, which will take place in Moscow from April 23rd to 25th. Key issues planned for discussion include bilateral infrastructure, logistics, and investment cooperation, including the flagship project for the construction of the Bushehr nuclear power plant and the railway construction project for the Rezstar segment through Russian credit, which will be an essential element of the international north-south transport corridor. This will be of enormous significance for the rapid expansion of trade, economic, and other ties in our common region. We agreed to accelerate the